Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to experience the Gut Check Project, talking science, health, and innovation that you can actually use. But this isn't just another health show. We're here to have fun and make your time enjoyable. Well, while you are enjoying yourself, know that even though the GCP covers some health topics with healthcare pros, we are not your doctors. So use our show to entertain your mind and not for medical advice. And now, here are your hosts of the Gut Check Project, Dr. Ken Brown and Eric Rieger.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Gut Check Project. I'm Eric Rieger here with this awesome guy, Kenneth Brown, and we've got ourselves an awesome person who's always with us, but you never get to see him, Paul Rogers.
Dude, I got to tell you, that was one of the best intros you've done yet.
Yeah, I wish you would let me record it so I wouldn't have to say it new every time.
So in case that voice sounds really familiar, this is Paul Rogers. He does the production for the Gut Check Project, and he does the voiceover in the intro, which I'm going to say, you got the compliment of my wife, who's very hard to please. She was listening, and she said...
Hi, Loida.
Hey.
Loida said, that guy in the beginning has a great voice. Nothing about her husband having a great voice, but the guy in the beginning has a great voice. And then she's like,
Thank you, Loida.
Is he handsome? And I'm like, I'm going to show you. He's
right
our
there.
next guest. Just because you said that, Loida, there he is.
So thank you for allowing me to be
handsome
on the Gut Check Project.
Yeah, and he's also my fashion consultant, which you can tell right now that I've spoofed up the digs a little bit because Paul is somewhat of a life coach for me and Eric. So
That's right.
welcome to the show, Paul.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
I'm so excited to be here.
So the great direction, the great cuts, everything that we've had up to date has really been this guy to my right, Paul, who's helped us with build a remote studio. You've helped us on the cuts. You've got us in remote locations. You're the one who helped us with the idea of set design, and along with Drew, pieced some different things together. So Paul, up to date. Thank you for all of that. What do you think of the show? Have you ever watched it?
No, see, what I do is I wait for my little intro where you guys talk crap about me. And then once you say 3, 2, 1, I just cut it there. And then I wait till you say, thanks, guys, at the end, and just cut the end. And then I just add your intro and outro, and I do my voiceover every time just for you guys. And Loida, you're welcome. And then that's it. No, I love the show. I think it's, with me, if I don't love something, I'll never give it any ideas because I won't get any. And there are a lot of ideas I have for you guys. I think we were speaking about it right before the show started.
So just what he's mentioning is before we actually start, we start to record, and then we always say something to Paul, and it's usually very inappropriate, which never makes the show. So, but it's some of our best stuff.
It is. It really, really is.
So through the encouragement of you, Paul, you were in our early days when we were still at Spoonie and kind of feeling out, do we have content here? It was you who approached us and said, I think that what y'all need to do is really bottle your energy and put it towards a non-broken, because at the time we were breaking for traditional radio breaks, and Spoonie was nice enough to kind of give us that insight. But you said, take what you're doing here, put it into a solid show, and this really kind of talk exactly about what y'all want to do from topic to topic. How did you know that's what you wanted to produce? Because what Ken and I get from patients and people who write in that we have not even physically met yet, they actually like what we do, and we didn't even know that anybody would like that.
I mean, whenever I heard your stuff, I met you guys 4 years ago.
Holy cow, has it been that long?
Isn't that long?
I think I've been in the new studio for 2 years.
Wow.
And maybe even 4 or 5 years ago. Because how long were you at Spoonie?
6 months, 7 months.
It was close to a year. I remember that. I think it was pretty close to a year. I'm pretty sure it was. And I met you guys, and we got along real well, just kind of instantly connected. And I was listening to a lot of your stuff. So my whole family's got a lot of gut issues and a lot of things that they just, can't ever get around. And I've had my fair share of things. And it really interested me. And coming from somebody that wasn't in a scientific or a medical background, learning about it and really enjoying it, I was like, okay, that means something. Because if I can enjoy it and not really being a part of it, and even that just made it, I was like, okay, there's something here. And then seeing your personalities, it's awesome.
So I don't want to make this about why you targeted the show, but more or less, what I think that you have is a great vision for what people could turn into something that somebody else would want to consume, which is why I think that you got into fashion, which is why I think that in your studio, which is lined with amazing art, I think a lot of it's produced by your mother.
Yeah.
And you've got, this is only one of 4 sound sets that you have. You have a reading room, you've got high level production. What is it that gives Paul the edge on finding talent to come in and do stuff here?
So I built this place based on creativity,
Mhm.
right? I built it from my perspective.
Mhm.
And that's where I just wanted to do. I wanted to make sure that it was in my perspective of being in a place where I felt safe and I felt comfortable and I wanted to create. I wanted to evoke creativity whenever I walked into the building. I wanted to want to be here. You know, I wanted to create a creative space that took me away from the outside world.
Okay.
Right. So that's how I started that. Right. So I'm an idea guy. I love getting ideas and I love getting them out there. So when people come to me or whenever I see people creating content, if there's something there, I'm not saying that I have all the ideas, but ideas just come to me. Like that's just what happens, and I like to spit them all out as I can. So when I see people that have potential of being able to bring something to somebody to as an entertainment and educational value,
Mhm.
that just it lights me up. And there are certain ways to do things, especially when the personalities of the individuals or individual that are giving that content have ways to connect with people. I'm a big connector of people. Like I love to make people feel comfortable. I love making people feel like they can be themselves. And I think that's what the world wants to see in a lot of this is that it's we're so tired of narrative this, narrative that. It's more of I want to see you. You know, why do you think reality TV is so big?
Sure.
You know, I mean, whether that's real or not, but it's showing the real lives of something. And I think that if we, as content creators and as humans, can be more of ourselves, people gravitate towards us because we're in a very comfortable and confident space whenever we can finally be who we are, you know, and that's what I look for. And then I try to put that on a lot of my clients and people that I work with is just, you know, don't worry about anybody else, right? Create the content that is passionate and that's full of passion for you, and people will come to you. You know, if you've got something great to talk about, don't make it for other people. You know, make it in something that you love and feel passionate about because then you don't have to pretend to love it. You don't have to pretend to be anybody else that you're not. You can just be you and then create something and an audience will follow. And that's what I think people stray away from is they have to pretend to be someone all the time and then it becomes stale.
Well, so I want to get into the backstory of this because this is sort of the behind the lens episode. The studio's amazing. It's incredible art everywhere. It really does. Like your vision of having a creative place is amazing. What is interesting to me with some of the conversations that we've had is you developing as sort of a producer and a director as well, because you have people coming in that shoot commercial. You do commercials, big level commercials. You do multiple podcasts. You do interviews. You do these things.
Everything.
And we were talking where sometimes the person comes in and they're trying to be something they aren't. How do you get somebody to really peel back and just be themselves and you get that on camera?
Well, from experience and seeing other directors work and other people interacting with talent and artists or even just regular humans that don't get behind a camera very often, because that's some of the hardest times. You know, you see a lot of abrasive acts, a lot of abrasive culture in that from director to talent or whoever is there.
Mm.
And I think I don't work that way. I'm very different than that. You know, I come from a background where it's like just be who you are and that's wonderful.
Mhm.
So I let them know that whatever you are is wonderful and I want to capture that because that's what I want. You know, that's what everyone else will want. Don't sit here and be all stiff robot trying to do this. Let's just be you. You know, and talking to people as they are as humans and being accepting of whatever they're going through. Another thing is you know, to piggyback off how to make them comfortable is I just allow them to have their emotions. Let them be scared. It's okay to be nervous. That's great. We're all nervous. Now that we're nervous together, let's have some fun. You know, there's a lot of ways to do it to where people don't feel like they're being forced to do something. That's what I like to do. Even when I direct any kind of commercials or direct any even short films or anything like that. And I'm like, stop trying to overact. Don't do that. That's, you know, it's like William Shatner in Star Trek. You know, you just don't do that, right? You know, it's like, okay, William Shatner.
Unless you're playing a role, it's a mockumentary on William Shatner, and then you really have to overact.
Oh, you have to overact the overactor.
Yes.
Right. Because you look at Star Trek, you're like, wow, that really is William Shatner in Star Trek. It's not like, wow, he's his character. Because I don't even remember his character. All I remember is William Shatner in Star Trek. Right. It was like Star Trek featuring William Shatner, you know, but it's just, it's making people feel okay in their own skin. So my background in a nutshell was I was never okay in my own skin. You know, I was obese until I was like 24, 25.
Really?
Yes. And so I never was comfortable in any of my skin at all. So I learned to cope with that. And then it made me accepting of other people not being okay in their own skin. So my first goal when I direct anything or when I talk to anybody about content is let's make you forget your content right now. Let's make you comfortable in your own skin for a bit, and then we can go from there. I like to empower because when you empower someone and lift somebody up, they have capabilities beyond their own imagination, and that's what I like to pull out of them. As deep as that is, sorry, that's just the way my mind works.
No, I love that. I love the fact that you're open, that you have this baggage that you struggled with obesity up till 24, but that allows you to be extremely empathetic towards anybody you work with.
Right.
Because you have clients in all walks of life. That's
every kind of thing you can think of. I've got clients all over, and I make it, and because I am that way, is I can fit in with any client, whether it be, you know, incredible scientist, researcher, doctor.
Mm-hmm.
No hints dropping right here. Just right, but
we knew it wasn't us when you said incredible.
Yeah,
right.
Like,
yeah.
as soon as you said that, we're like, he's not talking about
like,
us.
Dang it! That was almost us. That was almost us.
I can't wait to meet these people.
I know, right?
Yeah.
They're really neat. If you guys want to learn how to do stuff,
you know,
talk to them.
Whenever you describe us, I can see what it is. It's like, are those guys good doctors? They're like, they're good enough.
Yeah, they're all right.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, what do you call a doctor that, you know, got 1 point above passing?
Doctor.
A doctor.
Yeah,
that's
right.
it. No matter what. Right? No. But and then I have people that do.
I was gonna say defendant, but
I mean, you could. I mean, tomato, right? I mean, you know you got to do whatever.
Payer.
You want to know? In all transparent, yeah, I know.
Uninsurable.
Malpractice. Yeah. Okay. You know, in all transparency for everybody watching, I am so anal retentive. No pun intended for the butt doctor. But like I'm going to get up right now and I'm going to go make sure we're recording because I'm always looking at the screen, leveling everything. So talk amongst yourselves, children.
This is what he does.
I know. Thank God he's getting up because I can't wear this fashion stuff anymore.
Yeah.
I gotta take it off. I'm hot.
So everyone, in case you aren't watching, I'm the only one who's still on cam, but that's okay. Ken's already back. He's stripped out of his fashion stuff. Paul has run to the control room and is now coming back. But Paul, while you're getting set and putting your headphones on, I've got a question.
I do apologize about that. I'm such a control freak, and I have to have it working perfectly.
If you watch us on our set, I have my computer right there, and I'm constantly
looking at it just to make sure.
Like, good recording, good sounds going. Good.
I thought you had like a assistant or a pet.
He does. It's his right hand. That's it.
Oh.
To work the computer, Paul.
Of course. No, of course. Yeah.
So
you guys are never inappropriate.
The question I have for you is anybody who could find themselves struggling with stuff. And you brought up, you know, up until 24 that you had an issue that you needed to find your comfort zone. And as you put it, with yourself, did you have someone or a reference or a collage of different things of people or ideas or books that kind of empowered you to say, it's okay. I'm fine. I'm going to find my way and I'm going to find my own happiness?
So I'd love to say yes, but no, because that for me, that didn't work. I always followed like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I always I had his encyclopedia of bodybuilding, but that doesn't make me strong.
Mhm.
That doesn't make me Mr. Olympia. You know what I mean? My son was about to be born, and I made a choice. So as soon as he was born, it was either do it or don't do it. That's what I had to do. I had to make the choice, because you can get all the books and all the mentors in the world, but they can't do anything to you until you make the choice to make that switch, to make the change. So I didn't put my faith in other people. I have an issue with that. It's like putting your faith in other people instead of putting your faith in the person that's actually going to make the change first.
Sure.
Then being able to have some encouragement. I love the encouragement side. And I always got encouragement from people like, man, you're doing so great. You look great, man. It's amazing what you're doing. I love that. But I needed to make that choice mentally. And that's what I think a lot of people don't realize, is that they can go listen to all the podcasts and all the books and all the everything, but it starts within. And if you don't make that, and I don't mean, yeah, I guess I'll kind of do it. No, it's either yes or no. There is no in between on that. There is no try. It's either you do it or you don't do it. And that's what it has to be. It's either an on or off switch. If you give yourself leniency, or if you give yourself an out or another option, we're humans. We'll take it. We're always looking for an easier way. That's human nature, right? That's survival. We want to make sure that we can, well, if this is easier, I'll just take it. It's easy. But I had to force my mind into being uncomfortable all the time in order to grow to where I wanted to be.
So let me clarify that. When you talked about you were obese till you were 24, now that fitness is a real part of your life and all this, looking back on it, was there any type of emotional component that was resulting in some of the obesity?
Possibly. You mean that contributed to the obesity?
Mm-hmm.
Any kind of emotional things going on? Yes and no. I struggled a lot with not knowing my dad, and that I didn't meet him until I was 16.
Oh.
So that kind of bothered me, because he just like literally didn't want me, and that kind of freaked me out. I didn't understand why. Now it's whatever, but back then I didn't understand, and oddly enough, that's what happened with my son, Brandon, now my 16-year-old, is that because I've had full custody of him since he was 6 months old. So it's interesting that we literally have like parallel childhoods, but just opposite
parent.
Yeah. Which is very interesting. So I think there was I grew super fast when I was young. So I was just eating everything, but which in turn made me hate myself even more. So it was like I ate more, got depressed, ate more.
Do you remember that cycle?
Not as aware as I wasn't as aware as I am now, but when I look back on it, I'm like, whoa.
I'll only say that because I'll only ask that question because I feel like as long as you and I've known each other, that you really don't allow yourself to escape the vision of a positive possibility. And I don't know that Ken and I have ever really truly visited with you about this, but when we were trying to figure out what do we need to do with this opportunity to make a show, this guy Paul says that we've got people who would like to hear it, and that we should continue to do it. And in fact, when discussing, I remember when we sat at the table over at the old studio, we sat there with Paul, and I remember saying, "How do we know exactly what kind of content that we need to keep creating?" We had found a few guests to come on, but we didn't really know. And you said, "What inspires y'all to make a topic? What inspires y'all to research something?" And it was a blend of things, of personal ideas, and also being presented with questions.
I said that?
Yeah, you said
Wow.
personal ideas, but we had
Smart guy.
that.
You guys are in good hands.
And
No, dude, seriously, with some of the work that you've seen, I look at him and I'm just like, he's a hell of a producer when he's sober.
Yeah, but sober, so boring in life, right? I mean, no one ever asked me how I lost the weight. And whenever I divulged that it was methamphetamines, everyone's like, what? And I'm like, listen, my teeth may be fake, but look where I am today.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Right? Hey, listen, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And It's just there.
I will just go ahead and say thanks. I'm not going to keep giving you compliments on that part because, but no, seriously, it was awesome that you were able to recognize and it to me your element of the way that you apply positivity. It feels like that you've left the that old part behind. You're like, yeah, that was a part of me and it's gone now.
Yeah, well, it's not, but because I think that once you allow, it's like you never know where you're going until you know where you've come from.
Okay.
Right. So because of that, I know what it feels like to hate myself. I know what it feels like to be uncomfortable in every situation. And I don't want people to feel that way.
Yeah.
I hate that for people. Right. And if I can be just this much of a light in somebody's dark mental thoughts or just darkness of like uncomfortable or self-conscious stuff where they can't move forward, because the only way that we can move forward is if we get out of our own way, and a lot of people just stand in their own way a lot because of insecurities and because of all that. So because of where I'm from, and that I know that I climbed out of that hole, I'm able to, I just want to just try my very, very best to get other people out of those holes, because it's so detrimental. And we have one life, man. And if we sit at the end of our lives talking about what if, that is the worst. That's my biggest fear whenever I am on my deathbed or whatever, right before I go, is, man, what if I'd have done that?
What you're describing is interesting. When we did the episode that was supposed to be about the pantry and we put Sam Harris in the pantry and it's about living in the moment,
Yes.
it just hit me that you have been an artist your entire life. We're going to get back to what you studied, which is
Sure.
cool,
Yeah.
to where you're at now. But when you are working with a client, especially the vulnerability that you're disclosing right now and getting them in their vulnerable periods, like being nervous in front of camera, representing a company, people are, buying time, you're in the moment with them. You're with them. Your job has made it so that you are in this zone with people. So you are in the moment.
Correct.
You are neither worried about the future or lamenting the past when you're doing your job, which
Right.
is amazing.
Well, see, and that's half right, because part of me, when I'm talking to them, I am in that moment, because that's all that matters. Because if the moment doesn't work out, the future production will not work.
Mhm.
No matter what, if they're not okay in that moment that we're living in at that moment, the future production will never get to where it needs to be, right? So in my mind, in the other half of my brain, I'm like, we're going to make sure the moment's good so that the final product can be okay. So one half is thinking about making sure that they're saying the right things to make the production great. But then my other half of me that's speaking to them is being like, just do right here. It's just us. That's all it is. I did this really cool, um, super small, like testimonial documentary thing about this tiny home project here in Fort Worth that they're building for homeless people and battered women and things like that. Really, really cool thing. And we brought a couple of the women in to do some testimonials on it that came from that life, like homelessness, complete addiction to drugs, some prostitution, like literal the very bottom of what they would call their existence and what they called the very bottom for them. And I'll never forget that the one of the ladies came in and she was super reserved and very sweet, very nice, but was not opening up like I knew she could, because when you've got issues, or whenever you think you have issues, talking to someone as you, it's very daunting, because you're like, you're going to judge me. You've been judged your whole life, right? And now I'm talking to you and I'm going to be vulnerable and you're going to judge me. So I'm going to shut down, right? So that's how she was. That was her defense mechanism, right? She came in and there were a couple people in the room. We went through the whole testimonial once and I was like, okay, that was amazing. And you're so strong for doing that, right? I'm so proud of you. I love to say I'm proud of people, because I am, because it takes a lot. It's like that person in the gym lifting 5 pounds and that's it. He's in the gym or she's in the gym whenever this person over here is not, right? So don't go after the competition. Just go after you're doing something. And that's what matters, is you got to do something. Otherwise, nothing will get done. Anyway, so after she was done, I asked everybody to leave the room and I just sat and talked to her. And I said, Tell me about your emotional side of things. Cry if you need to. I don't care. I just want to know because I've been through similar situations and I want to make sure that I'm not wrong for what I felt, and she started talking about it and I was recording.
Mm.
And I just asked her the same questions again and she went through it and tear jerker. The entire testimonial
Mm.
was incredible. She cried a little bit because she felt okay. She talked about her strengths and the empowerment and how she is in an amazing space now, and it was incredible. Brought tears to my eyes, and afterwards she hugged me. Never met the lady in my life. Hugged me, and she goes, "Just thank you for allowing me to tell my story the way that it's supposed to be told." And I said, "That's what I was trying to get across," because you can hear a success story, how I built this and all this stuff, but no one talks about the parts where you hate yourself and you think things are going to go bad. And that's what I think is with my company's mission statement is, you know, giving brands a human element, and I believe that that is the biggest disconnect in everything is the human element. And even when I listen to some of the, big motivational speakers and all these things, I'm like, God, that's a great act, you know? But there's no emotion.
Yeah.
There's aggressiveness and put on, but let me hear what you feel. Or like, let's bring in the empathy. Don't just sympathize with me because you're supposed to. Like, let's feel some stuff. And I can always tell when someone's just speaking instead of listening and adapting what they're saying to what's going on. It's just very blanket. I hate blanket stuff, and I don't think things should be that way. So I'm going down a rabbit hole. It was just that experience was super cool to me, and that's what I live for. And not all of them are that serious, but I've not had one person after a shoot be like, God, it was hard to work with them. They were all like, thank you for making me feel comfortable because that was really hard for me. I'm not used to this. And I was like, and you shouldn't be unless you've been in front of a camera your whole life. Just be you. That's all I want because that's good enough. You are great and you were good enough. And that's what I like to get to everybody.
Yeah, I think it's if people look at you and they're like, nah, there's no way this guy comes from this background of insecurity, this background of seeking stuff out. But everything that you've said that you're doing right now in your life is everything that you wanted back then.
100%.
You're saying, I'm proud of you to other people when really you wanted somebody to say, I'm proud of you
Yeah.
for this. And
100%.
I love when from a philosophical standpoint, what you said was we have to make the moment good so that the final product is great.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine living your life like that on a day-to-day basis. I'm like, I'm in the moment right now because these little moments are going to make the final product great, which is a lifetime. Having that attitude going forward.
Exactly.
Cool.
Because if we get so caught up on trying to make the final product incredible and we disregard and ignore the moment. But that final, and then we set ourselves up for failure every single time we do that because the final product paints itself if the moment is good.
You use that philosophy on the other things that you're talking about, the gym and things like that, where people say, well, it's January. I'm going to be ripped. I'm going to do this. And that's the final product. And I'm going to have that Arnold Schwarzenegger encyclopedia thing. And I'm going to be the Mr. Olympia posters. I'm going to do this. But if you go in and live the moment of the day that you actually got out of bed and put your motion before emotions and just enjoy that moment, and then those moments build up, and then before you know it, you're at this spot. But this is what allows you to be so humble and so caring, and adding the human element to your business is that you put these moments together, and what you've accomplished now with everything here, with your physique, with everything, is a moment-to-moment continual betterment, I'm going to say, where you empowered yourself to allow that to happen.
And it's not easy. I mean, it's a battle every day. I struggle with so many things because of where I was, body dysmorphia and all that stuff. And it's just one of those things that because of the moment, because sometimes it hits me hard and I'm just like, God, I'm not where I need to be. Or man, I want to be here then and I forget. But I always come back and remind myself, it's like, you can't do that. because I'm not perfect, so I've got to sit there and think, okay, like at the gym, for instance, if I'm like, God, I just feel like I've let myself go the past few weeks. I've been eating kind of bad and I just feel terrible. Instead of thinking that way, and just getting more and more in debt emotionally, right? And with the negative emotions, I think about, what can I do right now to make myself feel better, right? Put the future behind me. I mean, put the future out of my head right now, right? So what can I do right now to make myself feel like I'm back on track? Work out. Okay, cool. Now, in this workout, what do you want to do? Well, I want to do this. Cool. Let's focus hard on that. Let's make these moments to be proud of yourself, because if you can't be proud of yourself, it doesn't matter who's proud of you. So it's, making these tiny little wins. Tiny wins are so great if you give them the value that they should have, because tiny wins are phenomenal if you allow it to have the value, the mathematical value within your psyche. Because we forget tiny wins, because in order to reach a big win,
Mm-hmm.
you have to have tons of tiny ones, whether it be mindset, whether it be, man, I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning and I worked out. That's a
Yeah.
tiny win.
Yeah.
Be proud of yourself. We let that go.
So we made reference several times on the show, even about different authors and motivational people, or just processes that talk about coming up with productive habits in the morning to start your day. And a lot of that plays into exactly what you're talking about, whether it's every day I make the bed, or every day I make coffee in this particular order, or every day I set up and I make lunch for my kids if they're at the house to send them out with. Whatever that routine is, those small little victories, even if it's a routine, you're right. I think it plays into your psyche that I'm already accomplishing these things, and it sets up your day, I think, for success. I can remember my own personal experience of being back when I was in college. People in college, you just have a different lifestyle. I was a drummer in a bar band, and so I often would stay out late, and then actually attending school there for a while. I shouldn't say it was an afterthought, but there were days that it just was, and I
Right.
wasn't getting up and establishing a productive routine. And then I actually had a professor one time that kind of shook it out of me, like, you're you're not doing what you need to do. Like, it was the hammer that I needed,
Yeah.
to hear. And I remember being really frustrated with his story towards me about what he thought of my effort, and it wasn't much. And I was pissed at him personally. Then I realized I was only mad at him because I wasn't happy with me.
Because it was truth.
That's exactly
There was
right.
truth in it. But I will tell you that it's not as simple as just doing something like making your bed, unless that makes you happy. But or doing this and that. You have to make sure that these little victories,
Mhm.
those little victories are great, but you have to make sure that you're doing something for you,
Sure.
because that's people tend to forget that,
You're right.
is that it's easy to get into a routine that is the same thing every single day. But when you think about it realistically, or when you break it down, you're like, you know what? I wasn't doing any of that for me, because people tend to put themselves on back burners and take care of everything else. Like, for instance, like new mothers, right? Anytime there's, say, a new mother with a baby, they always put the baby first, right? They always say that. And I'm like, I understand what you're saying, but that's backwards, because the mother needs to be happy, which in turn will make the baby happy. That baby was literally attached to you for almost a year, feeding the same pulses, feeding the same bloods, feeding the same body as you. And if you're not happy, then that baby's not going to be happy. There is that biological connection that they have to be okay. So putting everybody in front of you is so backwards, because it's kind of like what they say, happy wife, happy life. You know what I mean? But that's very true within all aspects of everything.
Mhm.
Because if you're happy with it's like in relationship form, people think they can go out and find love, right? And I'm like, that's not the thing, right? Let's break it down, because before you can find someone to love, there are 2 steps that you have to take before you do that. And they're like, what's that? And I'm
Bumble?
like, huh?
Bumble?
That's the fourth step.
Sorry, I get it out of order.
No. It's actually the first step is plenty of fish because that's like the bottom of the barrel, right? No. But there are two steps.
I'm just glad you didn't say Grubhub.
I mean,
you don't want to order that or DoorDash just to have somebody come by and hope that they love you just because they're bringing you food.
Now,
or Instacart.
favors, whatever. I mean, you never know. But no, there are two things that people tend to forget, and that is, it's kind of like addiction, right? Like a sobriety, like a 12-step program. There's all these things where you got to accept the fact that you have a problem, right? So first step is knowing that you can't get to that future point until you fix what's inside.
Yep.
You have to accept the fact that you are who you are. It's just the way you are, right? Then you have to learn not to love somebody else, but you have to learn to accept and love yourself. And then love happens because then you're not worried. You're not riddled with, this insecurity and all this stuff. It makes it to where things are easier. You're more confident. People are drawn to you more whenever you have that acceptance of yourself. And that's exactly what I had to do. I had to make sure that every day, no matter what my brain was doing to me, I walked out into the wild, into the earth, accepting of whatever was going to happen with me that day because I was in control. So
I think that's part of the reason why social media has done such a detriment to people's mood, depression, anxiety. You said it earlier that, you have to begin with what you just said right there. Essentially be proud of yourself because somebody else's compliments to an empty shell if you're not happy, but that's what social media is built around.
Dude, it's the fact that FOMO is a loosely thrown around vernacular now that you describe that's what somebody is being preoccupied with.
Fear of missing out.
Well, and it's what's driving them. It's not even necessarily they're chasing something that's going to be making them happy or what they even know makes them happy. They're chasing something they see someone else doing, thinking that might bring me happiness, or I need to compete with them for happiness. And you don't find it there.
You know what's interesting about what you just said and what bothers me a lot is there's so many people that have FOMO, right? Chasing what could make them happy, right? But also because they don't understand it. They're like, oh my gosh, I wonder, right? But then you've got a lot of people that hate or don't accept or these certain walks of life or certain ways of thinking, and they don't have that FOMO. Instead of being accepting.
Wait, you lost me on that one.
So it's like you've got these FOMO, just like Eric was saying. You've got these FOMO, like they're chasing this happiness, right? But then there are other forms of their life where they negate FOMO. They just, I'm not even going to try to understand that. But it's interesting trying to say it in a way where it makes sense because it's like people are picky or kind of pick and choose what they want to accept and what they want to find out about. And it's like a lot of people say, when it goes to different diets, right? They're like, I'm not even going to look at that. I'm not even going to look at that because I don't believe in that. I'm like, well, how do you know? Let's have I wish people would have more FOMO on bigger topics that they don't understand.
Have you ever seen Ted Lasso?
Yes.
Do you remember the scene?
I love Jason Sudeikis now because of that. I always thought he was kind of a douche, which he is. But after Ted Lasso, I fell in love with that man.
There's a scene in episode 1 or 2, I don't remember, where he's playing darts.
Yes.
And
against that guy, right?
What you just described is exactly what he said. And basically, if you've never seen Ted Lasso, it's a great series. Just go check it out. But he challenged the former owner or the ex-husband of his boss at a bar in front of everybody. But the deal is he described exactly what you're saying. He's throwing darts, and he goes, you know what? He goes, all my life I was underestimated and I was judged. And then I was driving my son to school one day, and I saw a sign. It was a Walt Whitman quote that said, always be curious. He goes, and then it hit me. All these people that were judging me, they were not curious. They did not take the time to get to know me. Like you. You never asked, Ted, have you ever played darts? Bullseye.
Bullseye.
And he goes, why, yes, I have. every day from the age of 10 to 16, triple 20. Well, I played with my dad when he died when I was 16, hit. And so it was the whole thing where it was be curious. What you're describing is the FOMO is just be curious
Yeah.
about life, about everything.
You're so much happier whenever you're not instantly shutting things down and instantly hating on something you don't understand. Just be curious. And also to couple that curiosity, why don't you just accept the fact that not everybody is going to be happy from the same thing?
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, because I can look at you and be like, I don't like the way you're living, and there's just no way. That makes me unhappy. Why? Why does that make you unhappy? You're putting so much value into something you know nothing about. You weren't curious enough about it to find out about it, and then you're coming up with this end emotion out of nothing.
I would even venture to say that a lot of the time that you find someone, not everyone, but you find someone who happens to be very, very famous or popular or just recognized for something that they've developed, when they first started in that, they began working on it. So let's just pick your favorite musician. There were times that that musician probably chose to not necessarily be around his friends or uh, pulled himself away from going to Six Flags. There was some activity that he pulled himself away from, and someone might have said, God, what is he going to go do? Play with that guitar again? He's terrible. He's not any good. And then suddenly, a few years later, everyone wants to go see that guy. And ironically, the same people who said, I can't believe he's going and doing that are like, oh, yeah, I grew up with so and so. And the weird thing is what I think that you're describing is it's okay to find inspiration in your passion. If you can do something,
That's the only way to make things
Yeah.
amazing.
and
Is
but other people can enjoy your passion if you
Yes.
pursue it.
But it's also like in my relationship, right? I have to understand and accept the fact I'm a creative. My brain works differently than someone that's, not a creative, right? And I have to be like with Kate. I had to get to a point where I had to either accept or leave the fact that she'll never understand what my brain does. She'll never understand how a creative mind or how a creative functions because she's not one. I'm not saying she's not creative, but she's not a creative.
Yeah, I got you.
You know what I'm saying? That's not what's inside of her that drives her, right? Being a creative is just everything I have to do. If I'm not doing that, there's no point to me, right? And I had to accept that, and because not everybody is going to think that what I do is amazing. Not everybody's going to find the same happiness or the same complete feeling that I feel. It's different.
Is that how your mom raised you?
Yeah. My mom raised me to just be me. And my mom's a wonderful being.
Is she
She's
creative?
awesome. Oh, yeah. She's a creative. And she allowed me to be whoever I wanted to be. And, she was super, very, very supportive, when it came to everything. If I wanted to do this, she's like, do it, try it, have fun with it, but go all out. And that's how I am with my son, Brandon. I said, I don't care what you do, man. But when you do it, you better go all in. Otherwise, that's not trying it. That's just playing in it for no reason, right? So I tell him, I say, I don't care what you do, man. Do what makes you happy, but go all out. That way you have a full knowledge whether you like it or not, or whether it has potential to make you happy. Because if we don't put all in, we'll never know what we can actually get out of it. And that's what I think a lot of people do is they'll dabble. And I'm like, that's very detrimental to your happiness, because it's kind of like a jack of all trades and a master of none. That's cool. But when have you ever focused so much on something that you can be like, I'm proud of where I am in that one thing, in that one skill?
Do either of you guys know where the phrase YOLO came from?
You only live once?
You only live once.
I don't know. I haven't heard a lot from those people that said that a lot, so I didn't say it ended
Well, it was
well.
a phrase being thrown around a little bit
Yeah.
when people would do something, they'd quit their job or they'd do something irrational.
YOLO.
YOLO. Quit my job, doing whatever. it's actually, and I'm going to get I'm going to get some of this wrong. I heard an interview, and I think it was somebody from the Grateful Dead. They had a ranch. Him and his wife bought a ranch, and they called it YOLO, you only live once. And it came from the idea that this ranch came for sale. They bought it together, and the exact opposite of how today's society says YOLO, you only live once, so just screw it and just move on to the next thing because life's too short. It's the exact opposite mentality of if we're going to do it, we're going all in. And so he stayed married with his wife forever. They had this ranch. It's called the YOLO Ranch. And the concept behind it was go all in.
That's amazing.
Like once you do it, you go all in. And right now, and I only say this because I heard this when we were traveling with Baby Bathwater, I'd hear people that say, oh man, YOLO, I just ditched my job and I'm just backpacking around Europe. I'm like, that's cool. I guess, I think, I don't know. Doesn't fit my personality.
Is that
good? I mean, because my mentality of what you're talking about is you only live once, so do it to the most. Make that moment count to let those moments build up. The little wins accumulate, and that is what you only live once should be.
Oh, 100%. Because you could chase after these tiny wins, but if you don't go after the bigger win from the tiny wins, what's the point of these tiny wins? It's like we need to. A lot of people say that they're scared of failure, but I also think that they're scared of success, because I think there's the same. I think it's like this like double negative type thing. They're like, yeah, well, I'm afraid to fail, so I'm not going to try. I'm like, I hear that, but let's say you do try and you don't fail. Then all of a sudden, what happens then? Well, oh my gosh, then everyone's going to see my success. And what if they don't like it? So people, I think, associate failure and success in the same bundle.
Isn't that weird?
It is very weird because they're so opposite,
Yeah.
but they're not. And that's the thing is that success and failure go hand in hand. And I used to be so scared of failure back in the day, so terrified. Even when working out, I'm like, what if I never can change? What if I'm just always going to be fat my whole life? I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it because what if, right? But failing to me has been everything. I love failing now. Because it's kind of like that whole thing with Thomas Edison. Whether it's a quote from him or not, it says it is. It's like, internet's a funny thing. I do believe everything I read. So on the internet, if it's on the internet, it's true.
Even all the stuff about Chuck Norris, killing 2 stones with 1 bird kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. You kidding me? You kidding me? I mean, him and Jesus were like homies. Like they were like, actually, Chuck taught Jesus how to fight.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
Chuck doesn't do push-ups. He pushes the earth down.
That's right. He pushes the earth down. Exactly. Have you seen that commercial where he's in a bar and they're like, we're at these 2 guys at a table and Chuck Norris at the bar. He's like, and they're just talking. It's a brand new commercial. I just saw it the other day. I'll show it to you later. Anyways, wait, you brought up Chuck Norris. Hold on. What were we saying?
We just derail.
What was we
were talking about success and failure are very close together, but failing is actually somewhat enjoyable because I think you were getting
the whole Thomas Edison, whether it's him or not kind of thing, is like someone asked him, it's like, how does it feel to fail, 10,000 times? He's like, fail. He's like, I didn't fail 10,000 times. He's like, I just figured out 10,000 ways not to do something.
Yeah.
Because failure brings knowledge. And I think people forget that or they don't pay attention to that. Every time you fail, what should happen? You learn from it. You learn what not to do. That's what I tell my son. My son started a photography business, right? He's 16 years old, getting clients. He's awesome. He's incredible. But he's so scared to do something wrong. And I look at him and I say, do something wrong. Please do something wrong. Because then when you do it wrong, and we acknowledge and we see that it's wrong,
mm-hmm.
Now you know what to never do again. And he had something like this with a shoot the other day. He just did not do something right, and he was beating himself up over it. And I'm like, you can beat yourself up over it all day long, but then you start to forget to do things in the future. You start to work, you stay stuck in it, and we tend to keep doing the same mistakes whenever we can't be like, okay, how do we get past that or learn from it? So I told him, and I was like, will you ever do that again? He's like, well, no. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now let's learn how not to do it again. Let's learn ways to make sure that never steps foot into your talent. And that's what I tell people, like in the recording studio with music or even during a production. I'm like, mess up. It's okay. We got these little cool things called memory cards. And it's not like the old days where I got to splice film together. We can take 100 takes if we want to. Let's take the stress off. I'm not asking you to be perfect because you're not. And that's why I love it. I don't want this to be perfect. I want to be proud of you for you, not because of your perfection. Mess up. Please mess up. I want you to, because then we can get that BS out of the way and people just relax.
In addition to that, you're living that, but your son being able to come to you and say, I really screwed up on this, feeling comfortable enough to say that, where many times, if it's a boss, if it's a parent, and somebody screws up, they hide it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, use it as a business perspective. I want my employees, if somebody screws up and overspends, forgets a advertising thing, and we lost, $7,000 in the quarter on something that should have been shut off, come. Because if you don't, then that's, $28,000 that we're losing.
Yeah.
Let's fix it now.
Right.
But having the confidence to come to your dad and be like, man, I really screwed up. And then having you say, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That is awesome you
I
did.
mean, don't get me wrong.
Let's
I'm a
talk
hard
about it.
ass. Like, he knows.
Well, he knows because you said, let's talk about that now.
Yeah.
Are you ever going to do it again? And you just instilled in him to teach himself. You didn't have to be a hard ass to him. He realized that that's where it's at. And then, that's the beauty and the fact that you didn't have a dad and you're a pretty damn good dad.
I appreciate
It's
it.
pretty cool.
I did have a father figure in my life, which I could never let that go. I mean, it was my stepdad, who my mom and him got married whenever I was like 3.5, 4, and they got divorced when I was 7. So he didn't have to stay in my life, but he did. He chose to.
That's great.
Wow.
Because he just loved me so much.
Yeah.
And I guess he passed away like 14 years ago, I think now. February, let's see, it was Thursday. Yeah. I think 13 or 14 years ago now. And so that was my dad, my father figure. And he, oddly enough, he was a psychotherapist, super like world-renowned psychotherapist before the internet was around. And he traveled the world doing psychotherapy. So he taught me a lot about affect theories and the way the brain should work and how to read people and how to get in touch with people in a way that made everybody comfortable. So I learned a lot from him. He is the equivalent of what you see Anthony Hopkins play in every movie, just this genius, just man. Even Hannibal, smart. I mean, he was just smart and knew everything, and something about him you kind of liked, even though he was eating people. But you're like, son of a bitch, I like this cannibal. You know what I mean? But that's what he reminded me of in life as a human form of an actor, is just like that all-knowing, charismatic, just knew everything. Educated, had like 3 or 4 masters for just in all kinds of things that he just loved to look into. And I was like, wow, that's cool. I was like, you gonna be a doctor? He's like, nah, it's not for me. And I'm like, but you'll have like 6 masters. And he's like, yeah, it's not the school I don't like. I just don't want the title. And I'm like, okay, Pop, that's cool. But it's so I had to learn how to do that. And I've messed up a lot, but I believe that allowing my kid to learn now than learn when he's 25 or 30 is a little bit better. At least kind of throw it into him now for a little bit. You know?
It's kind of interesting. So my boys and I, we often talk about the future. They're both relatively still young. And what do decisions mean, whether it's career, enjoyment, different
Right.
things like that. And Mac, I think, will more than likely be some type of serial entrepreneur. He has that mindset. He's always trying to think of something that will apply. And I think that he has a lot of enjoyment behind that. He likes
It's beautiful.
to group people together. Gage, they have a lot of similarities, but Gage also, he thinks more about his functionality. And he has one pursuit right now I think that he didn't know he would have enjoyment in, but he loves it. He's trying to become a collegiate basketball ref. And he's putting in his time now
That's
doing
awesome.
it here in high school. The other side is he's going to graduate relatively soon with a finance degree. And he's like, how do I start? He even told me, I kind of feel like I might have imposter syndrome to go and command a salary of like an adult to do this kind of stuff. And then he voiced why he had that. And I said, but you've done all of these things to get to this point. And when you look around at your peers and when you're with everyone else, do you feel unqualified? Do you feel like that
This is Gage, right?
Yeah. Like, do you feel like you don't belong with these people to do these things around them when you're just enjoying yourself? And he's like, well, no. And I was like, then if you're where you're supposed to be, then everything becomes where you're supposed to be. And you'll know you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And if you're not comfortable doing what it is that you're doing, then leave.
Yeah.
Everything is an educational point for you. I'm not doing now what I was doing when I got out of college or in high school.
Right.
I tried something out. I took some education from it and then moved on and went and did something else. And it just sounds like pursue what's making you happy. And that might even change.
Yeah.
That's okay.
No, it's beautiful. Engage if you're listening, which you probably not. But if you do, those companies want you not to believe in yourself. They want to pay you what you're not worth. So walk in there, and if you do not feel yourself, if you don't think you're worthy, sure, take the low pay. But if you think, and if you think that you deserve, which you do, everybody does, if you deserve to get paid for all the hard work and the passion you put behind it, ask for it. Because you sure as hell don't want to be in a company that is looking to pay someone that it feels unworthy.
That's exactly right. 100%. Ken?
No,
Yeah,
this
episode kind of took a deep turn. I feel like we should throw in a couple of jokes. Yeah. Speaking of cannibals, what did one cannibal say to the other cannibal while eating a clown?
Don't know.
Doesn't this taste funny? Dad jokes. I got 2 kids, man. I can say all the dad jokes I want, and you have to accept it.
Well,
no, I thought this was going to be a technical episode. We were going to talk about film, creativity, editing.
Yeah, we kind of did.
Software, how you went from opera to this.
Well,
I did go from.
We did gloss over an important period of your life.
We did. I mean, I went to school. I went to college for singing opera.
What's the name of your band that's on iTunes?
19 Machine.
19 Machine.
19 Machine. Then I did another thing called with Andrew Kent. That was my solo. I did a lot of stuff there, and I produce people and vocal arrange for a lot of artists now, and it's a lot of fun. And it was interesting because I got pretty far in the R&B pop world, and I sang. I never did opera again, but that was some of the best training I could ever do because it's kind of like training for a marathon, but not doing a marathon. You're in the incredible shape.
Really?
Right? I mean, it's like
vocal control is insane.
I can hold it. At my longest, I think I held a note, one single note for 1 minute and 8 seconds.
Wow.
Straight. And because of that training, I teach other people when they come in. They're like, "Do you teach voice lessons?" I said, "Hell no. I don't want to hear you sing bad 12 times a week for months. I'm going to give you about a 20-minute lesson, and then I don't ever want to see you again." I really don't. I want you to go do your own thing because you don't need someone sitting there telling you, unless you want some encouragement. Not me. That's not the guy. I got other things I got to do. But I will give you a 20-minute lesson that changes your world. And it's all about just the functionality, the fundamentals, and the form. And I mean, I tell people, I'm like, you can sing this entire line. You're saying I'm right out of breath. I'm like, because you're not doing it right. Mm-hmm. And it's all breaks down to mathematics. It's like you're giving the wrong values to the wrong notes, right? Or the wrong values to all the different notes. And it's about breathe. Everything's about breathing. But because of that, I was able to did pop R&B. I did some kind of folky acoustic stuff for fun, like Ed Sheeran type, ginger guy kind of stuff, except I'm not ginger. I'm Italian, so that didn't work out real well. Couldn't play guitar either, so I was just sitting in a bar in a coffee shop with a guy playing guitar, and I was like, well, this isn't quite intimate, so I left. And then I did rock because I was like, I want to challenge myself. I wanted to do rock. I've always had this like R&B soulful type voice, and I was like, let me get some rasp in there. And man, that was the most fun I ever had, was singing rock, because no one cared if you were perfect. So that was the best part.
Our first road show was all the way down in Conroe, and you and I got to ride down together and come back. I don't think that we went a solid 60 seconds where the two of us weren't singing. And
we sang the entire time.
Down and back.
Sang, snuggled.
What did you?
So fantastic.
Yeah, snuggled.
It's the 2 S's.
Yeah.
Sing and snuggle.
While, unbeknownst to you, You were all COVID-y.
Yes. What did you call and tell me the day after we got back?
Yes. I had no idea that I was sitting there singing my COVID blues. I had no idea. Called Eric and I was like, hey, man, I've got it. He's like, what? I've got it. That was really funny. So who gave it to me? Did you give it to me?
No, I don't know that I've ever had it. Well, I've never had symptoms of COVID. I'll put it that way. But I did stick to, at that point in time, Ken and I were both talking about, both on COVID files and as well just amongst each other, what was it we needed to be doing. We were mostly following the FLCCC guidelines, et cetera. And whether that's exactly what worked for me or didn't, I was getting my rest. I was doing what I needed to do. And you're the testament to it. You were positive the day after you and I spent over 8 hours together in my truck. And
singing the whole time.
And
just spitting all over each other.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the snuggles.
Yes.
Rubbing that spit in. And it's just, wow. I forgot about that. That's when I tested positive. I was like, well, that's great.
And that was way back when we were still kind of confused by the whole situation.
Yeah,
Like,
that was very early.
beginning.
This was, I mean, this is before.
Wasn't it like March?
No, this would have been October of 2020 because it was right before the election because we went down.
You're right. You're right. It was right before the election.
Spike,
we did
from a
Spike Cohen.
producer,
Spike Cohen.
from a producer standpoint, stop banging on the table. Back to me. Yes, back in October. Back in October, I do remember that now. Yeah, that was fun. That was a really cool brewery, and
Yeah, that was the episode.
I still have the shirt.
High fructose corn
fructose
syrup.
We all got the
syrup
same
and
red
Spike
shirt.
Cohen.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
We should all worn that today.
We
Forgot.
did that after we came back. We did.
Yeah,
that
you
episode
did.
Where him and I just wore that shirt.
Yeah, thanks for including
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
It's awesome. I got one and then just got left behind.
We were hoping that you
Here's
were
your
wearing
consolation
it while you were,
prize.
Yeah, you
while
were
I was
wearing it
editing.
while you were editing.
That's
right?
all I was wearing, actually. Just that red shirt, just so I could feel close to you guys.
Yeah, that's it. So next time anybody watches the Gut Check Project, realize the editor is pantsless the whole time.
Absolutely. Just careful of my editing chair.
Yeah.
That's mine. Mine alone. Mine only.
Well, Paul, thank you for everything that you do for us on GCP. Thanks for the.
This is only the beginning.
Yeah.
Just wait. You guys have no idea whether they like it or not. This is about to get ridiculously crazy, and it'll be my life's challenge to get these guys to do it. We're going to do it, and it's going to be phenomenal, and you're going to love it, and it's going to be something that you guys have never seen before. And see, you see how I'm putting on the episode, so you have to do it now?
Yeah.
You like this?
Yeah, I like
and
this.
I edit it, so I'm not going to take it out.
I just realized this whole episode was a lead-in so that he's going to make us do something. It's like live in the moment, jump in.
You
know,
see
it's
that?
The little wins.
How do you feel
it's
about
all
yourself
this-
now, Ken?
This was all a psychological trap.
Do you feel comfortable? Tell me about your emotional side of this thing.
Yes.
What really fuels you?
I just know that I am always going to try and make the moment good so that the end product is great. Whatever that moment that you're going to put us in, we will
Don't
try to
worry.
make it good.
You're in good hands. I got you.
Well, that's going to do it for episode number 98. This is the awesome Paul Rogers. Paul, thanks for everything you've done for the show.
God, that was such an anxiety, small 1 second, half a second. I was like, do I go right hand, left hand? Am I coordinated
bump,
enough?
what are you gonna
I was
do?
going to like, and
This
then slam my microphone.
It made me comfortable to fish you into that. That's the only thing that I could do.
God, did you probably, I don't know if you saw like my life flash before my eyes when you put your hand up. I was like,
No, dude, it's so annoying. Paul, thank you for coming.
yeah. Oh no.
We were
It's the
shaking.
turkey.
It's the turkey. Thank y'all so much for being a part of Gut Check Project and KBMD Health Family. Ken, anything else to close out
No,
with?
that's great. Just appreciate all the work that you do for us, Paul.
sure.
And, the end product's fantastic. Thank you.
Like, subscribe, follow, share on all platforms. And it's going to say it again. Actually, I'm going to say it again here in a minute at the end of the thing. But I want you to know from me, like, follow, share, subscribe. Tell everybody about it because everybody needs to know.
Thank you. Do it for Paul.
Do it for Paul.
Do it for me. In turn, it'll make you better.
That's it. See y'all.